Hello, my little Luxes. Welcome to my channel, and I am your host, Charcy Lux. And as you can tell, I am already trying out something completely new, something different, and it's kind of standard for my channel. I'm always exploring, I'm always changing, trying to update, and just feel things out on what I am enjoying. And well, in the sayings of Monty Python, and now for something completely different. I have recently been posting that I've been working on art again. And I've been making a lot of paintings, and I've been making shorts out of them, I've been making videos. I also have them for sale in my Etsy shop for my Charcy Charms. And I realized after when I started posting, there were a lot of people who didn't realize that I'm an artist. I have mentioned it before. I know that I've had videos where I've even shown some of the artwork that I used to work on. I even have a bachelor's degree in fine art, and my emphasis was in painting with a minor in history. And I was shocked by how many people didn't realize that I am indeed an artist. And I love art. The thing is that I haven't been working on art for quite a bit of time, almost 10 years. So the backstory that comes with it is that in 2015, when my father had passed away, I had lost my love for working on paintings, working on drawings, and the last painting that I had made was back in 2015, just shortly after my dad's funeral. I had made a painting that was in memory of him. And I never touched a painting or drawing or anything again after that day. And it's been recently that obviously I've been, well, I mean, if you're brand new here, it's not obvious to you, but to everyone that is returning in here with me on this really wild roller coaster of me being all over the place. And I appreciate and love and adore every single one of you that have been here, helped to support me along the way. And that through this whole rockiness and me trying to basically come back into terms of me loving and appreciate myself, was that talking with a lot of my friends and communicating was that I realized that I missed working on paintings. And I finally broke out my supplies and broke out the art and started painting, started drawing again. So I've been basically deep diving into working on my art. And my focus and energy has all been going into that unfortunately I have had like little to no drive to want to really do the cosplay, to really create the videos and everything on that end of the spectrum. And it's one of those things where I will get back to it again, but I want to focus on my art and I want to find ways to combining it because it is a huge part of my life. And the fact that I went to school for this, and I, unfortunately, when I stopped. And when I got the degree, the biggest thing that is a problem here in America is that you go to college, they talk the big talk of, hey, you have to go to college, you have to have this degree, otherwise you'll never get this job, and blah, blah, blah. And they don't help you to find your career. They give you this degree, and then they go, here you go, now go out into the world. And yes, there are some degrees, there are universities that will help in the programs as much as possible. But where I went to college and where I got my degree, that was not the case. When I got out of college and was in severe debt, because have to have that college degree, but now you are in a hefty debt. And as an artist, as the term goes, you are a starving artist. and you're a nobody. So just trying to be able to sell your art on the side. And for the amount that you are told, especially when going to college, I worked with a lot of well-known artists that were in the Chicago area, and they would try to emphasize and say, like, you have to mark your art to be like this outrageous amount. And of course, when you put it to that amount and try to sell it, all you hear from people is this never-ending saying of, wow, that's really expensive. I'm not spending that on this. And it becomes very heartbreaking after a while. So obviously, because you're in debt and not making any money on what you wanted to put your life work into, I ended up just finding an everyday job at a grocery store and became a night manager there. So I was just working there. I was there for about 5 years. And I was doing my art at this same exact time. So, I mean, in my free time, I was still making paintings. I was still trying to get to galleries and that kind of stuff. But I wasn't selling anything because, once again, I had it at that marked up price, because that's what was emphasized to me while I was going to college, that you have to value your art and you have to put it up to this standard. One of the first eye-openers for me was at the grocery store that I worked at and that I was this night manager at, that my boss didn't even know and realize until it was like a conversation about something in the bakery had happened. The person that was supposed to be there for decorating the cakes didn't show up. And one of my friends who also worked at this grocery store had mentioned, oh, well, Charcy's an artist. Maybe she can help you out. And my boss came to ask me, and I'm like, well, I have a degree in fine arts and painting, but I'm like, I'm not a baker. I'm not a cake decorator. And I'm like, that's not something I'm going to do. And he was completely shocked and surprised that I, one, had a bachelor's degree. So mind you, the American way, you have to have a college degree in order to get them jobs and everything. And even on my resume, even on my application, I had exactly where I went to school. And my boss had no idea I had a bachelor's degree, even though it was, all the information was there in front of him. So that was my first eye-opener. It was like, oh, well, they emphasized that we had to have this bachelor's degree, and here my boss at this current job I was at didn't even know or care. So the next big eye-opener was, believe it or not, at the bank job. And at a bank, you cannot get a job there unless you have an associate's degree. Yes, there are programs where like high school students can get summer jobs at helping for temp work and that kind of stuff at banks. But if you are a full-time employee, you have to have an associate's degree in order to work at a bank. And got in a conversation with my boss, and it was very similar to, well, it was in one of those points where I was making my claim for why I felt like I deserved a raise from all the hell and everything we went through, and me finding out for the work that I did at the bank that I was working at, that any other bank that I would have worked at, that I would have been making a salary of $65,000 a year or more. And at the bank I was working at, I wasn't even barely making $25,000. So I was trying to make my case, and making my case, I even brought up, I'm like, I have 2 associate's degrees and I have a bachelor's degree. And once again, with all the information that is laid out and right there before my boss in a resume, in applications, and he had no idea that I even had a bachelor's degree. And it's like, what is the point. Like, seriously. Like, I really only needed the associate's degree. Look, technically only one. I just decided when I was going to the community college that I was going to and getting my gen eds, when I found out that literally all I needed to do was take 2 extra classes in order to have 2 associate's degrees, I'm like, well, the hell with it. I'll just spend an extra year, or technically an extra semester, and get that extra degree. So then that way it's like I had an associate's in art and I had an associate's in science. So when I was going to go to transfer for a 4-year college, I had the choice and decision, what path did I want to take? And it just blew my mind that once again, another boss had no idea. And it was drilled in our heads for so long when going to high school, when listening to parents and family and all this bullshit, because I'll flat out say it, all this bullshit of you have to have a degree in order to get anything. Now, I understand. If you're trying to be a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, a dentist, any of those things, yes, I understand all the schooling that you need. That makes sense. But most of the stuff, it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, fine, you can get these degrees and the schooling and everything, but most of it's a big fat scam. Because why are we having to have 4 years for these degrees and you have all these non-essential gen ed classes? Like me for my art degree and with the minor in history. And the reason why it was a minor in history is because when I started at the 4-year school, when I had transferred from with my associate's degrees and everything, my major was actually art history because I just wanted to be a historian and everything. And the initial plan was that I had wanted to go even further and go to grad school so that I could have been a professor at a college. And the longer I was at college, the more, one, I hated the art history program I was in and couldn't stand half the instructors, so it just would get frustrating. And I mean, I wasn't failing any of the classes. I think the lowest grade I had gotten, which that was the eye-opener for me, was that I was not enjoying the program, was I had gotten my first C in my one art history class. And I'm like, I'm not feeling this. I'm not enjoying this. I'm forcing myself to do the homework, literally. And so I just got to the point where I'm like, I was so frustrated. I'm like, I don't even know what I want to do. So for the following semester, just made the choice and decision, like, hey, I'm just going to take some art classes, get back to my basics, because watching my husband take the program and everything, I was missing working in a studio, working with art and everything. So I started just taking some standard painting classes, drawing classes, mixed medium classes, and I realized within that first semester that I was in love and I was happy again. So I quickly, within that semester, changed my major over to painting. And I left my minor in history because I was still doing amazing in history. It was whatever the heck was going on with art history. And I fully blame the instructors. Like, all of them were very pompous, very elitist, and it's like, nope, this isn't for me. I don't want to be a part of this. So being in studio art and working on that was amazing. And keeping the actual history side of it, that I was still enjoying that. So there was emphasis in European history, talking about World War I, World War II, the Habsburgs, even did a class about the Romanovs, and even did a full-on class about American history. So anyway, on topic again, I found my love and passion again for art, so that's how I ended up with the degree that was in there. And I went into my 4-year college not knowing exactly what the hell I wanted. And it's one of those things where you come straight out of how many grueling years of going to school and then going straight into college. And it's one of those things where it's like, they should allow you to have at least a year or two off, just exploring and traveling and figuring out what you want to do. Because by the time I had my bachelor's degree and everything, I was so worn down and I was so over any form of schooling. And ended up, like I said, having to get the job at a grocery store so that I could start paying the bills. And then once I finally had the bank job and everything, it was great for a short period of time, but as soon as my original boss, when I was hired, had retired, and then my new boss came in, it became hell. And oh my God, you want to talk about somebody that was able to destroy a beloved job. For me and my coworkers, we had loved the job. And as soon as he took over, it became hell. And the turnover rate became insane to the point where, you know, it was a small town bank that when your customers are commenting on the fact of how often the employees are changing, and they were saying, it's frustrating, I don't like talking to new people. And it's like, well, take that up with the boss, man. But, I mean, obviously we all know that I left that job and that. But anyway, from taking a long story to talk about the fact that, yes, I'm an artist and that I want to start pulling my artwork more into what I'm doing. So here we are. So while I've been talking, I've just been having the vocals over one of my recent paintings that I've been working on. Well, I should say this one's finished. And this one is available for sale in my Etsy shop for my Charcy charms. And I have them at reasonable prices. Because if I would listen to my wonderful, wonderful instructors who are artists in Chicago, I should technically be making those paintings and selling them for $100 if not more, according to them. I have them in the shop as a reasonable price in my mind. And over time, I'll see, like, if it's one of those where I can't keep them on the shelf, then fine, I'll raise the price for them. I guess it's the whole old saying of supply and demand, yada, 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 whatever. But in my mind, and especially with the state of the economy right now, that it's like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And I'm exploring, I'm changing things, I'm trying. I'm really, really trying, because I'm to the point where I'm kind of at a loss. And I know that a lot of people are feeling the way that I am, where we're so over corporate America, we're so over the hiked up prices of everything. And at some point, something's gonna give. We don't know what, and we don't know when. But yeah, so anyway, I've rambled on for how long now that I just wanted to come in and emphasize and talk about again that yes, I am an artist and I do indeed have a bachelor's degree in fine art. And it really hasn't mattered because it has been a shock to everyone. But yeah, like I said, unfortunately after my dad had passed away, that I had broken away from doing it, and it had been almost 10 years. But because of working on myself and working on my mental health and that finally went back and started working on it again. So we'll see where this path brings me and everything. What my plan is that for a while I'm going to be kind of doing things like this. And that I will be doing voiceovers over my art for a while, because like I said, I am worn down. I am broken down at this point. And I still want to do like the movie reviews and that. I'll just have them as a voiceover talking about films that I've recently watched, do kind of like reactions. and one of those where I can bring in and pull in other things that I want to talk about. Obviously, I could do this with the ghost stories too. That's not a big deal or a problem. And as you've been seeing, I've been posting a lot of the old ones. Well, they're not really old. I mean, they're from this year, but the ones that were on the second challenge, on the second channel that I decided I didn't want. Like I keep saying, I am either a jack of all trades or I am all over the place, and I just keep trying and pushing myself forward. And the other change that everyone's been noticing that I've been doing is that I finally just tore off the band-aid and I've switched Lux. Instead of it having the triple X, it is just a single X now. And I kind of hinted at it before, but I'm tired of things and people mistaking it for being a bot or being porn related. And as I've said for years, I support women and men who are in the porn industry, who are in OnlyFans, who do sex work and that kind of stuff. I support it. So in 2020, when I first started doing Charcy Lux and that, I had the OnlyFans and I did lewd cosplays, but I moved away from that because obviously in OnlyFans there's only one direction to go in order for the easy come, easy go type of money. So I also wanted to do the YouTube content. I wanted to do the vlogs. I wanted to do the reviews and that kind of stuff. But my biggest reason for changing it was not necessarily because of, you know, there's a few weirdos that come in thinking that I'm porn and that I was tired of the actual platforms mistaking me for it. Because if some of you haven't noticed, I took quite a long hiatus from Instagram, and I was tired of them flagging my stuff recently as if I was in the porn industry or that I was XXX rated, and they were thinking I was a bot. And so I was tired of that. I was tired of being shadow banned in Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it. And it's just one of those things where even if looking things up to make sure, like that one time that I had looked up my name and had found that I was being linked to this porn site, I'm like, no. So that was happening a lot. Luckily, I dispute those and those disappear after a while. They're a pain in the ass to fight with though. So I did the name change for myself. That it's not for anything else, it's for myself and for my own peace of mind. The biggest pain in the ass is obviously updating all my links and everything like that, because once my name changes, my links change as well. So, and I also need to remember when I do my copyright on my cosplay photos, I need to make sure I update that. So obviously all my old photos will still have the XXX on them. I'm not going to update them that far. Now, if I take old photos and rework them and that and put the copyright in them, I probably should leave it the XXX anyways, just because at that time period when I made them, that's what my name was. But I don't know. I guess it really doesn't matter in the long run. But so that is why the name has changed, and now it is officially just Lux, Lux. And I still don't care, everybody that's known me, if you type out Lux with the 3 X's, if when you use my nickname Luxy, if you use the 3 X's, that does not bother me. That is fine. It's just more for the professional end and how I wanted it to look, especially even more so now that I am focusing on my artwork again and selling it. I really, really, really need the artwork to be on a professional side. So if somebody comes into my shop and they're looking around and then they see the triple X, and it's like, I don't need to have that confusion and everything. So just kind of a little backstory and that, and obviously I get long-winded because hey, that's who I am. I love my story times. I love being a chatty catty every once in a while. Quite a while. But yeah, I just, like I said, this is the direction I would like to go as of right now, and I will pop in here and there with my cosplay videos, but I am so happy and excited to work on my artwork again. And thank you to everybody who keeps coming back and supporting me and helping me through everything. We're all suffering at this point in time. I've been noticing that everybody's basically going through it right now. And we're all feeling the negative pressure of what's going on in the world. Between wars going on, between nobody can afford anything, and just with the election coming up, everybody's at each other's throats. It's a hot mess, and we're all miserable. And all I want to do is just send love and support to as many people as possible. And yes, I disappear from the internet every once in a while because I call it that my cup has been emptied and I can't give anymore. So I've learned get offline, because that's when I get sick mentally, because I keep pushing myself. So a hint to a lot of people, if you're getting online and you're just feeling it, that's probably what's going on. Your mental battery has been drained and you have nothing else to give. So don't doom scroll, like my hubby likes to call it, doom scrolling, and make yourself feel worse. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me here again, and I have links down below. Hopefully they're updated. Like I said, I gotta fix things. So you can find me online. You can find me on my Patreon. I gotta update that as well. That's gotta change from the triple X to the single X. So please, any love and support helping me on my Patreon is a huge milestone for me. And my lowest tier is only $1. Any support helps me right now. And things are getting bad. Things are getting really bad. But anyway, enough about that. But a huge shout out to all of my Patreons who are there with me. I love and adore you guys so much. Thank you so much for joining me. And a huge shout out to my ultimate Lux, Kurt. Thank you once again for being there with me. And remember, I'm the afterlife of the party, but I would love for you to come and join me here in the afterlife of the party. And always remember to slay, subscribe, like, and always be yourself. And self-love is definitely the best love you can give yourself. Until next time, my little Luxes, I hope you have a pleasant day, evening, whatever time of the day you are watching this. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.